Welcome back to Connect MKE. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus today has been on outstanding young women who are using their platforms to help make a difference in the lives of others. My next guest is La'Ketta Caldwell. She's a playwright, motivational speaker, and author of the children's book, Khloe's Beautiful Blues. How are you, La'Ketta?
I'm doing wonderful today. It was a little bit warmer, so that made me really happy.
I think we're all waiting for spring to really kick in. So it's good to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here with you today. It's always good to be around somebody from Kentucky, so I get really excited.
Yes, and before we even get started, that's what really makes us click, that we both are from the state of Kentucky.
Yes.
I'm from Louisville. You're from, is it Paducah?
Paducah, yes,
Yeah,
Paducah.
yeah, yeah. So yes, you are officially my home girl, and this is our second hometown, so we definitely have that in common. So I want to talk about the National Center for Educational Statistics. They report that 1 in 5 students report being bullied. And bullying, we know, is an age-old thing. So many of us have experienced it. But whether it was in 1960, 1970, 80, 90, or yesterday, bullying really has had the same effects on individuals. And so you are well aware of that, and you've witnessed it in working with children. So you've come up with this whole initiative to really help kids know that they don't have to bully and that there is a way to deal with bullying, right?
Yes, Khloe's Beautiful Blues. The project was inspired by one of my students. She ended up coming to talk to me. She was really upset. She was about to get into a fight. And she came to talk to me because she was upset because her students were calling her a monkey. She's first generation American. Her family is from Sudan. And so after just hearing her pour her heart out, I was really upset. And typically, when I get upset, it becomes an artistic piece. And I went home. I just really, it just, I didn't sleep well that night. And so I have an amazing village and I talked to them. So I was like, well, maybe if I put it together in a children's book, because I started to write. And so Khloe's Beautiful Blues is actually my affirmations to her and all of those girls whose skin is beautifully kissed by the sun. And so I talked to Sherry Williams Pinnell, and she's like, Keats, she calls me Keats. Keats, she's like, that is so amazing. And she was like, would you be willing to write a children's play about it for the 2022 Black Theater Festival? I was like, absolutely, because the story doesn't go into what happens mentally to someone who's being bullied, and it doesn't show the people around who see it and do nothing about it. So I started to flesh out this story. It incorporates, so you hear the blues and beautiful blues, like the blue of her skin, but the blue of the sky, but also the blues, the music. So Khloe in the play is a singer, and her music teacher hears her singing in the hall, and he exposes her to the blues. So the art is how she's able to express and get out all of the frustration that has been stored up inside of her because of bullying, and not just the bullying, but some of the trauma that's happened inside of her home.
Wow, that is amazing. And when you brought up Sherry, of course, she's been on this show talking about the great art that she's put into place on stage and music. So to be able to connect with her and really display this to the masses is something special. So tell us about really how colorism really does change how children view themselves, because a lot of times people may have heard the term colorism, but I'd like for you to explain really what that is.
So I think I don't think it goes back before even we were born. And they used to, like, if you were good enough, if you passed the paper bag test. So even going back before the paper bag test, during slavery, how we were divided because of the color of our skin. So if you were a house slave, you were lighter skinned. And then if you were a darker slave, you were put in the field. And the way that narrative in our minds that we perceive that someone who is lighter skinned, they think they're better than someone else. And that's really not true. Or someone who has a darker skin, that they're not beautiful. And so those narratives impact how we show up in our jobs, how we show up at school. So if you do not see yourself in magazines or in movies, then you think you're not good enough or you're not pretty enough. But for us as a people, when we start to divide and say, oh, I see a light skinned girl, she's rude, or she's not going to be nice, she thinks she's all of that. I haven't even taken the chance or opportunity to really get to know her. So it's colorism divides. Colorism, from what I've seen when it comes to bullying, it hurts. We come up with jokes. So in the play, you'll get a chance to hear, you so black. And we think it's funny and we laugh, ha, 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 but we don't know what happens when that child goes home after hearing that joke. They may laugh in front of you. Their smile could be tears they're crying on the inside. So the impact of colorism in our community is long. It's long, and then the effects of it is long lasting.
Yeah, so the "you so black" jokes are kind of like the "your mama's so fat" jokes, and I think that anybody that's been around kids have heard those. They call it throwing the dozens back and forth. But like you said, when it's talking about someone's appearance and what they see in the mirror each and every day, it can impact them in a way that people may not even realize. So it goes without saying that what you're doing is pretty amazing and so needed. So I think it's safe to say that people young and old deal with those issues, and some of them stem from childhood. Some, like you said, people walk into work with those based on how they're treated right there in the workplace. So you found a way for people to kind of get it off their chest, per se, talk about it, share their thoughts and feelings through letters. Talk about that.
So it's called Dear Khloe. So when I was younger, there was like Dear Ann, and it was in the newspaper in Paducah that people would send letters. And I've always been fascinated by story, and there's power. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. So being able to get this, whatever is going on that you've never had a chance in a safe way to share. So I created the Dear Khloe platform where women and young women can send letters about the impact bullying has had on their life or someone that they loved. And so I've had literally over 100 letters that have been sent to me where people share. At first, I thought it was just going to be young people. So I was like, oh, young people are going to send their stories. And then I'm going to speak. The name of my company is called Key to Life. And so I'm going to speak keys to life to them. But what I found out, majority of the letters have come from adults who have shared the bullying that's happening in their workplace, and people in prestigious positions are sharing that they go home and cry because the people around them are bullying them, or they don't invite them. So some of the situations have been people don't invite them to lunch, or they don't share information needed for reports, and they make them look bad. So all of these things are happening. And so for me, to be able to see that there are adults who are still living with a bully in their life, to the young person who's experienced it, I really want to be able to give a space where people heal. So the adult, what I found out is in some of the letters they've shared that they were bullied as a young person, which transferred into them being bullied as an adult. They haven't found their voice. And I think of a quote Frederick Douglass says, it's easier to fix a broken child than an adult. And so I want to be able to have a platform where young people know it's okay to get help, to speak up, to advocate for yourself. And so hopefully these letters, when people hear the different letters and that was their story, as an adult, you go and get the support you need. Maybe you have to go to counseling to peel the onion of the years of bullying you had. But as a young person, to know that we as adults, we're here for you. And there was a teacher, I literally was at the right place at the right time to hear that young lady's story. And I was like, this is unacceptable. I'm going to do something. If you can't talk about it publicly, I will make it a platform. And this project, what's so amazing about this project are the women and the companies that said, yes, I want to be a part. I want to support you in this. And for me, that means a lot, because every time I'm able to share this story, this young lady's validated. that what she told me, I was like, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make sure that another young lady who may be experiencing the same thing knows that she's beautiful, that she's smart, and that we have her back.
Absolutely. So someone can actually visit your website at ketalife.org. We'll put that up on the screen. They can jot that down and share their stories and the impact that bullying has had on their lives. And it's funny, you and I were talking on the phone, and I said, I remember my bully from like the fourth grade. And it's so memorable, like her look, everything. I looked her up on Facebook, and she looks the same. And I felt all those things. She used to tell people, she thinks she's cute, don't talk to her. And you think, like, your parents always tell you, just ignore it. But it really does play some sort of role in how you feel. It can interrupt your learning at school, any of those things. So I think with that said, it's important to point out that there are different forms of bullying. Physical bullying, verbal, social, and then in this day and age that we live in, we know that cyberbullying is a thing. So talk about your experience of also dealing with a bully.
So for me, it was in work, because I was really sheltered as a young person. I had a lot of amazing support, but I had a job where the person would, so some of those examples, they would leave me out of meetings. They would isolate me from the group. Isolation is huge as an adult. They would say, oh, she's emotional. And those were things that hurt me a lot. And I'm a fighter. So I had a voice, but then for a little while, I started to feel like I wasn't enough. I was like, something is wrong with me. But then I had a safe space. I had an amazing village that was like, listen here, you're being bullied. There's a lot of microaggressions that are happening, and you don't have to stand for that. You have rights. And so I thank God for my village. I thank God for the individuals who were like, listen, you have a voice. You don't have to stay in that space. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, they internalize it and they hold on to it for a long time. But like I said, my village really helped me to be able to process through that. And I am an advocate for counseling and to be able to process. And I never wanted to take that into another job or into another place. So really talking to a counselor and really unpacking that and how it made me feel, because because I truly believe as leaders, hurt people hurt other people. And I am a leader. I never wanted to project all of that on someone else.
Absolutely. And it's funny, you keep mentioning your village, but you also are part of so many other people's village. I just interviewed Miss Milwaukee, Jada
My
Davis.
baby.
And when she heard that I was going to talk to you, she says, that's my mentor. And I thought, what are the chances? So it just really goes to show how just the support systems that are in place just here in Milwaukee, and so many people who are supportive of what you're doing and what you've been doing. So I wanted to talk about how in the coming months you're going to be really hearing more about Khloe's Beautiful Blues. So you mentioned the theater and kind of doing the reading on stage, but you've also got something in August, I think something in June. So give us the rundown.
So it's going to start in July, where it's a partnership with Milwaukee Parks Foundation, a person who I'd worked with, and I told her about the project, and she was like, La'Ketta, I really want to be a part. And so Rebecca Stoner, who just started at the Milwaukee Parks Foundation, she was like, you can host your photo shoot in any of our parks. And so I was like, I want to do it in the Mitchell Domes. And so we're going to do a photo shoot, and it's going to be an affirmation where women come together. Our tagline is everybody and hue is beautiful. And so women will be reminded, no matter what size, no matter what race you are, that you are beautifully and uniquely made. And so we want them to bring their mentors, their daughters, their cousins, their aunties, and we're just going to have a really good time. One of my students who's a big baby now, like Jada, she's going to I call them, they're still my babies. She's going to sing True Colors because that's what I think of, that we have to, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid. So I love that song. So that's going to happen. And then the Davis Dancers are going to do a reading with Miss Sherry and I, so we can sit down and make sure, because I'm 45. I don't mind sharing that I'm 45, but we want to make sure that the language is relevant in how the students talk. And so they're going to really rip the script apart and give me feedback. And we're going to do some major edits then. And that's going to happen in May at the Davis Boys and Girls Club. And then the production is in August. We're going to do a reading at the Black Holocaust Museum. Really excited about that. And then I have a partnership with one of this organization. The Boys and Girls Club really grew me up. And there was a program that I was a part of, Society of African American Professionals. So I will be working with a lot of the African American leaders within the movement to get the book in the club. And I have a curriculum that I created that I will be doing workshops for the staff who do direct service. So many people that have said yes, and we want to support you, especially this children's book and why you created it. So like I said, I'm so very grateful. Milwaukee's been really good to me.
Yes, and I could say the same thing. Milwaukee's been good to us Kentucky girls.
Yes,
so
yes.
Thank you so much, La'Ketta. You have such a beautiful spirit, and I'm so happy to have you join us today. Continued success.
Thank you.
All right. La'Ketta Caldwell is a playwright, motivational speaker, and author of the book Khloe's Beautiful Blues. To find out more information about anything we've discussed today, you can visit her website at KettaLife.org. That's going to wrap up today's show. As always, I thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we continue to discuss the issues and introduce you to the people making a difference in the city where we live, work, and play. Have a great day.